The waiting room smelled like burnt ozone and fear. I've been stationed at the Galactic Combat Academy for 6 cycles now, and I could always tell when something interesting was about to happen. The usual buzz of conversation had died down to nervous whispers, and every set of eyes, all 47 of them if you counted the Vexarian in the corner, was fixed on the observation window. My name is Krell, and I'm what you might call a veteran instructor. 4 arms, scales that could deflect most small arms fire, and a combat record that made most cadets wet themselves on the first day. I trained warriors from 200 species across the galaxy, seen it all, done it all, survived it all, or so thought. That's the human. My colleague, a Thraxian named Vosh, clicked his mandibles in what I recognized as disbelief. She looks like she'd snap in a strong breeze. I had to agree. The creature standing in the prep chamber below was, by any reasonable standard, pathetically unsuited for combat. She stood maybe 5 and 1-2 ft tall, possessed only 2 arms, no visible armor plating, no venomous glands, no natural weapons whatsoever. Her skin was this weird peachy tan color that looked like it would bruise if you breathed on it too hard. Long dark hair pulled back in some sort of tail, and she was wearing the standard academy jumpsuit like it was a casual outfit for a garden party. Her name was Maya Tors, according to the file, 22 standard years old, from a planet called Earth, in some backwater system that had only made contact with the greater galaxy 3 years ago. No prior combat training before entering the academy 6 months ago, and she just challenged Draxer the undefeated to a match. This is insane, Vosh muttered. Draxer is going to kill her, actually kill her. I've seen him fight. He tore a chromelin in half last season. Regulations say she has the right to challenge anyone. I reminded him, though. My stomach, both of them, was churning. We can't stop her. Down in the prep chamber, Maya was doing these weird little jumps, shaking out her limbs like they were malfunctioning. A human ritual of some kind, perhaps. Her face annoyingly showed no signs of fear. If anything, she looked well amused. That couldn't be right. The arena doors hissed open, and the crowd of spectators, over 3,000 beings from across the academy, erupted into a mixture of cheers and horrified gasps. The betting pools had gone absolutely wild when news of this match had leaked. Most odds had her lasting less than 30 seconds. I put money on 45, and that was being generous. Draxer entered from the opposite side, and even I felt a chill run down my primary spine. 8 ft of pure muscle and fury, covered in crimson scales that had never been breached in combat. 4 arms, each one capable of crushing a fighter's skull like a soft fruit. His species, the Gathians, were banned from most combat sports because they were simply too dangerous. But the academy allowed them because, well, war didn't care about fairness. His record was 143 wins, 0 losses. 37 of those wins had ended in fatalities. Before the medics could intervene, Maya stood in her corner, rolling her shoulders and doing more of those strange little bounces. The size difference was comical, tragic, utterly terrifying. "This is murder," someone behind me whispered. The referee, a Quintari with 6 eyes and a voice that could shatter glass, began reading the rules. Standard combat regulations: no weapons, no lethal strikes to primary organs unless unavoidable. Fight until submission or incapacitation. Maya raised her hand, questioned she. Called out, her voice carrying across the arena with surprising clarity. The referee's eyes swiveled toward her. Yes, Cadet Tours, just to clarify, when you say no lethal strikes unless unavoidable, does that mean I should try really hard not to kill him, or just sort of moderately hard? The arena went dead silent, then Maya grinned, and I swear to the void it was the most unsettling thing I'd ever seen. Not angry, not scared, just entertained. Like she was about to watch a particularly amusing holovid. Draxer's rumble echoed through the chamber. Funny human, your last words should be funnier. Oh, these aren't my last words, Maya replied, still with that infuriating grin. I'm saving those for something more dramatic, maybe a speech about the power of friendship or something. Haven't decided yet. Vosh grabbed my arm. She's insane. We need to stop this. But the referee had already stepped back. The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. Maya dropped into a stance I didn't recognize. Low balanced, hands raised but loose. Her eyes, I noticed, never left Draxer's chest. Not his eyes, his chest. Interesting. 5, 4, 3. Drax's muscles tensed. I could see the calculation. His eyes, the predatory focus. He was going to rush her, use his mass advantage, end it quick. 2, 1. The buzzer sounded. Drax exploded forward with terrifying speed, all four arms extended to grab, crush, destroy. The crowd gasped. I might have gasped too. Maya didn't move. She didn't move until he was less than 3 ft away, and then she did something that made absolutely no sense. She dropped straight down like her legs had just given out, sliding across the arena floor on her knees. Draxer's arms whooshed through the empty air where her head had been a millisecond before, and as she slid beneath him, still moving from momentum, she drove her elbow up and back into the soft spot behind Draxer's left knee. Crack echoed through the arena. Draxer stumbled just a little, just enough. His balance shifted, and Maya was already moving, spinning up from her slide with that same fluid motion, her leg coming around in an arc that shouldn't have been physically possible for her joint structure. Her foot connected with Draxer's temple. The impact sounded like someone had dropped a melon on concrete. Draxer's head snapped to the side. He staggered, caught himself, turned toward her with murder in his eyes. Okay, Maya said, breathing a bit heavier. Now that was a free shot. You get 1. 2, fair's fair. I'll rip you apart. Draxer roared. Probably, Maya agreed cheerfully, but you'll have to catch me first. What followed was, frankly, the most bizarre combat display I'd ever witnessed in my long career. Draxer was faster than any being his size had a right to be, and stronger than most military machinery. Every strike he threw could have pulverized stone, but Maya, the ancestors helped me. She was like trying to grab smoke. She ducked, weaved, rolled, and twisted through spaces that shouldn't have accommodated her body. When Draxer threw a punch with his upper right arm, she leaned back just enough for it to miss, then used his extended arm like a ladder, running up it to drive her knee into his jaw. When he tried to grab her with 2 arms simultaneously, she dropped between them and swept his legs, sending all 8 ft of him crashing to the ground. And she kept talking. That was the worst part. You know, I've fought bigger, she commented, while avoiding a strike that would have decapitated most species. Well, okay, not bigger than you. Specifically, you're pretty big, but I fought a guy named Marcus who was like 68, different weight class entirely. Draxler snarled and charged again. Maya sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and used his own momentum to send him stumbling past her. The trick is not being where the fist is, she continued like she was teaching a class. See, you're broadcasting your attacks about 3 seconds before you throw them. That shoulder dip, dead giveaway. You might want to work on that. Stop talking, Drax bellowed. Can't, it's a medical condition, my instructor back home said. I had terminal SAS, very serious, no known cure. Vosh was gripping the observation rail so hard his claws were leaving marks. How is she doing this? I had no answer. The human was smaller, weaker, slower in straight line speed, and by all rights should have been a stain on the arena floor by now, but she was reading Draxler like a children's story, predicting every move, exploit every tiny gap in his offense. Then Draxler got smart or desperate. Same difference. He stopped trying to hit her and instead grabbed a chunk of the arena floor. The reinforced plating tore free with a screech of metal, and he hurled the 300 lb slab directly at her. The crowd screamed. There was no dodging that, not at this range, not with her speed. Maya didn't try to dodge. She ran toward it. At the last possible second, she jumped, planted one foot on the flying debris, and used it as a stepping stone. The slab crashed into the wall behind where she'd been standing. Maya flew through the air, rotating her body, and came down with both feet on Draxler's shoulders. The impact drove him to one knee. She leaned down, grabbing 2 of his arms for balance, and I could hear her voice even from the observation deck. Hey, big guy, getting tired? Draxler roared and surged upward, all 4 arms reaching back to grab her, but Maya had already jumped off, landing in a roll several feet away. So that's a yes on the tired thing, she said. Wanna know secret? I'm exhausted too. You're way tougher than you look, and you already look like a tank had a baby with a nightmare. Draxler's breathing was labored now. I could see the fatigue in his stance. How was the human, the fragile little human, outlasting a Gathian? Come on then, Draxler challenged. Stop running and fight. Maya's expression changed. The grin faded. Her eyes went cold. You really want me to stop being nice? Nice? She'd been being nice. Fine, Maya said quietly. I tried to make this fun. She moved, not like before, not with the playful dodging and acrobatic escapes. This was something else, something focused. Draxler threw a combination. 4 arms working in devastating synchronization. Maya slipped through them like water through fingers, and suddenly she was inside his guard. Her palm struck his solar plexus, or what passed for it in Gathian anatomy. The impact was precise, brutal. Draxler gasped. Maya's elbow came up, catching him under the jaw. Her knee drove into his midsection, a palm strike to his chest, another to his throat. Every hit was measured, calculated, placed exactly where it would do the most damage. She wasn't trying to overpower him. She was dismantling him, joint by joint, nerve cluster by nerve cluster. You wanted to know why I wasn't afraid? Maya asked, her voice steady despite the exertion. It's because fear is what prey feels, and I'm not prey. She swept his leg, and this time when Draxler fell, it wasn't graceful. He crashed like a toppled monument. Maya stood over him, breathing hard but still upright. Stay down, she said. Not a taunt, not a suggestion, and order. Draxler tried to rise, his pride, his undefeated record, his reputation, all of it demanded he get back up. Maya's foot came down on his chest, not hard enough to injure, but firm enough to make a point. I said, "Stay down." The referee was moving forward. The crowd was going absolutely insane. Half of them were cheering. The other half were in shock. I was somewhere in between. Draxler looked up at the human standing over him, this tiny creature who had just done the impossible, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Respect. Yield, he rumbled. The arena exploded. Beings were throwing things, screaming, crying, fainting. The betting pools had just shifted more credits than some planets' annual budgets. Maya stepped back, offered her hand. Drax stared at it for a long moment, then took it. She helped him up, or at least made the gesture. He outweighed her by several £100. Good fight, she said. You almost had me twice. That grab in the third exchange was clever. Draxler laughed, actually laughed. It sounded like rocks in a tumbler, almost human. You were toying with me, little bit, Maya admitted, but only because you could take it. Respect, you know. As they walked toward the exit together, Maya waving at the screaming crowd like she just won a raffle instead of defeating the most dangerous fighter in Academy history. I turned to Vosh. File a report, I said quietly. On what? Everything. Her technique, her capabilities, her psychological profile. All of it. Why? I watched Maya laugh at something Draxler said, watched her clap him on the arm with genuine friendliness. Because if one human can do that, we need to know what happens when there are millions of them. The galaxy just changed. Voss, we were so busy worrying about whether humans were ready for the galaxy that we never stopped to ask if the galaxy was ready for humans. Down in the arena, Maya was signing autographs for younger cadets with the same cheerful grin she'd worn the entire fight. Somewhere in the betting pools control room, accountants were having breakdowns, and in the prep chamber, the next challenger, a Vraxian champion, who'd been watching the entire match, quietly withdrew his challenge request. The Age of Earth, as some would later call it, had just begun, and we had no idea what we were in for. The next morning, I arrived at my office to find it surrounded by approximately 70 different species, all trying to shove their way through my door at once. Vexorian from yesterday's match was literally climbing the wall to get a better position. A Klandari was arguing with a morph about Q protocols. 2 Zenthari were about to start a duel over who had arrived first. What in the void is happening here? I shouted over the chaos. A young Praxian cadet, barely out of her third molt, pushed forward. Instructor Krell, we want to train with the human. We need to learn her techniques. Of course they did. Human has a name, and she's probably still sleeping off yesterday's match, I replied, trying to activate my door panel while fending off a particularly aggressive Thorian. Come back during normal office hours. But sir, the entire Academy is talking about it. She beat Draxler. Nobody beats Draxler. I finally got my door open and slipped inside, closing it before the mob could follow. Through the reinforced glass I could see their disappointed faces pressed against the surface. This was going to be a long day. My terminal was blinking with 743 unread messages, most from Other instructors, some from academy. Administration, 3 from off-world. Military recruiters who apparently had very good intelligence networks, and 1 from Maya Tours herself. I opened it. Hey, Instructor Krell, heard you were asking about me. Want to grab breakfast? I know a place that serves decent food. Or at least food that won't kill most species. Let me know. Also, sorry about the crowd outside your office. Word travels fast. Who knew? Okay, bye. The message was written exactly how she talked. Somehow that made it worse. Against my better judgment, I sent back an affirmative. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in the academy cafeteria across from the most dangerous human I'd ever met, watching her demolish a plate of something they humans called pancakes. So, she said between bites, somehow managing to talk and eat without being disgusting. You wanted to ask me questions? Shoot, how did you do it? I asked bluntly. Draxer outweighed you by 300 lb. He's faster, stronger, more durable, by every measurable standard. You should have lost. Maya swallowed, took a sip of some dark liquid she'd called coffee, and shrugged because I didn't try to win by his rules. Look, back on Earth, humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We're not the strongest, we're not the fastest, we're definitely not the most durable. You know what we are. Apparently insane. She laughed loud enough that several nearby cadets turned to stare. Well, yeah, but also adaptable. See, every other species I've met here trains for combat by maximizing their natural advantages. The Gathians train to hit harder. The Vraxians train to move faster. Klendari train to outlast their opponents, and humans, we train to win. Period. Doesn't matter how. My instructor back on Earth, an old guy named Coach Patterson, he used to say, fighting isn't about being the best. It's about making the other guy be the worst version of themselves. I processed this. You deliberately provoked Draxer, the talking, the jokes. All of it was psychological warfare. Yep, made him angry, got him. Predictable, angry fighters make mistakes. Plus, honestly, I was terrified the whole time, and talking helps me not freak out. She took another bite. These pancakes are amazing, by the way. You want some? I'm a carnivore. I don't eat. What are those grain products? Your loss. A group of cadets approached our table, led by a morph named Telkish, who I recognized from advanced combat courses. They stood at respectful attention. Cadet tours. Telsh began, his translator rendering his resonance patterns into standard galactic. We witnessed your victory yesterday. It was exceptional. We were hoping you might be willing to spar with us, teach us your techniques. Maya looked genuinely surprised. Really? You guys want to train with me? Half the academy wants to train with you, I interjected. The other half wants to challenge you to prove yesterday was luck. Awesome, I mean the training part, not the challenge part. Well, actually, the challenge part is kind of cool too. She turned back to tell Kesh, sure, I'm down, but fair warning, I'm not some master fighter. I've only been doing this seriously for like 3 years. 3 years? She defeated a century-long champion with 3 years of training. Telsh's species didn't have facial expressions I could read, but his posture radiated excitement. When can we begin? Now Maya checked some device on her wrist. Yeah, I've got time before my tactical analysis class. Let's hit the practice rings. What followed was possibly the strangest Training session in Academy history. The practice arena was packed within minutes. Word had spread as it always did, and suddenly every off-duty cadet wanted to watch the human work. Maya stood in the center ring surrounded by 12 volunteers from 8 different species. Okay, so quick question before we start. Maya announced, how many of you have ever fought someone smaller than you? Few hands, claws, and appendages went up. Cool. Now how many of you have trained specifically for fighting smaller opponents? The appendages went down. Right, that's what I thought. See, that's the thing about humans, we're usually the underdogs in a fight, so we've gotten really, really good at it. She pointed at a massive Cromalin in the back. You big guy, what's your name? Grath, the Cromalin rumbled. Grath. Awesome, come here, let's demonstrate something. Grath lumbered forward. Easily twice Maya's height and probably 5 times her mass, the crowd murmured with anticipation. Grath, throw a punch at me, don't hold back too much, like hold back enough that you won't kill me if you connect. But make it realistic. Grath looked uncertain. Are you certain, Cadet Tours? Call me Maya. And yeah, totally certain. Worst case scenario, the medical bay gets to practice with human anatomy. That probably should have been less reassuring than she made it sound. Grath wound up and threw a devastating straight punch. His fist was literally the size of Maya's head. The crowd gasped. Ma sidestepped, grabbed his arm with both hands, dropped her weight, and used leverage to redirect his momentum. Grath stumbled forward, off balance. Maya was already behind him. See that? She called out. I didn't try to stop his punch. That would be stupid. I'm not strong enough. Instead, I helped it go where it was already going. Conservation of momentum plus gravity plus poor positioning equals 1 off balance. Cromalin, she demonstrated again, this time from a different angle, then again slower, breaking down each movement. The crowd was silent, absorbing every detail. Most combat training focuses on offense. Maya continued, how to hit harder, shoot straighter, deploy faster, but defense is where smaller fighters live or die. You can't win if you're unconscious. For the next 2 hours she ran the volunteers through drills that looked nothing like standard academy combat. Training, footwork exercises, balance disruption techniques, how to read body language across different species, how to turn an opponent's strength into a weakness. I watched from the observation deck, taking notes. Vash had joined me at some point. She's a natural instructor, he observed. She's a natural something, I muttered. Look at them, they're actually learning. It was true, the cadets weren't just going through motions, they were engaged, asking questions, experimenting. Maya answered every question with patience and humor, demonstrating on anyone willing to volunteer. At one point, a Vraxian speedfighter named Kix challenged her assessment that smaller fighters had inherent advantages. Speed is absolute, Kix insisted. I can strike faster than you can perceive. How does technique matter against that? Maya grinned. Show me. Kix blurred into motion. The Vrayan species could move at speeds that made them nearly invisible to most optical sensors. His strike should have been unavoidable. Maya wasn't there when it landed. She dropped flat to the ground, rolled sideways, and come up behind him. Her hand tapped his back. You're fast, she acknowledged. Crazy fast, but you still have to accelerate. That moment before You move, that's when you're vulnerable. Plus, fast doesn't matter if you're hitting empty air. Kick stared at her. How did you see me? I watched. Your muscles tense before you moved. Your species might be fast, but physics is physics. You can't accelerate without tensing first. The afternoon session drew an even bigger crowd. Maya had them. Running team exercises mixing species with different capabilities. A Gathian paired with a Zinthari scout. A morph tank fighter working with a Praxian technician. Combat isn't individual anymore, Maya shouted over the organized chaos. Modern warfare is about unit cohesion. You need to know your teammates' strengths and weaknesses as well as you know your own. She was right, of course. The Academy taught this principle, but rarely demonstrated it so effectively. Watching a Zenthari use their speed to herd an opponent into a Gathian strike zone was textbook tactical coordination. By the time the session ended, Maya was drenched in sweat and grinning like an idiot. The cadets were exhausted but energized, already planning follow-up sessions. I met her as she headed toward the showers. That was impressive, I admitted. You've been holding back in your regular classes, have I? I don't think so. I'm just comfortable in a training environment, I guess. Plus, these guys are fun to work with. She wiped her face with a towel. Back home, I used to help coach youth boxing kids. Mostly this reminds me of that. You taught children to fight. I taught children discipline, confidence, and self-defense. The fighting part was just the vehicle. She paused. Is that weird? It feels like that might be weird here. Everything about your species is weird, I said, not unkindly, but effective. Tell me, Maya, what's your actual goal here at the Academy? Why did you challenge Draxer? Her expression turned serious. Honestly, I wanted to see if I could. Earth is new to the galactic community. Everyone thinks we're weak, primitive, behind the curve. I get it. We probably are in a lot of ways, but we're not helpless. She looked up at the Academy's towering spires. I figured if I could prove humans can hold their own, maybe it opens doors, maybe it changes perceptions. It certainly did that. Yeah, well, might have changed them a bit too much. I heard the betting pools are offering odds on whether I can beat Grand Champion Vex next. Vex was a Klandari warrior who'd won the last 3 interstellar tournaments. He made Draxer look friendly. Please tell me you're not considering it, Maya laughed. What? No, are you kidding? That guy is terrifying. I saw him fight once and decided I never want to be in the same arena as him. There's brave and then there's suicidal. The relief I felt was probably visible. Besides, she continued, I've got bigger plans than just fighting. I want to graduate, maybe get assigned to a diplomatic security detail, see the galaxy, meet new species, try foods that won't kill me. The usual tourist stuff. An alarm chimed across the Academy grounds. Evening formation. Maya groaned. I forgot about inspection. I need to shower and change in like 10 minutes. This is going to be close. She jogged off, still radiating that inexplicable human energy that seemed to defy physical exhaustion. Vash appeared at my elbow. She's going to change everything, isn't she? Probably, I agreed. The question is whether we're ready for it. The next few weeks proved that no, the galaxy was absolutely not ready for it. Maya's training sessions became legendary. She taught defensive tactics to species who'd never considered defense necessary. She showed speed fighters how To defeat strength fighters, she demonstrated psychological tactics that were technically legal but felt like cheating, and she did it all with that same infuriating cheerfulness. Draxer became her regular sparring partner. The sight of them together, the massive Gathian and the tiny human, became common around the academy. Apparently, they developed a genuine friendship based on mutual respect and a shared love of combat philosophy. Recruitment offers flooded in, military divisions, private security firms, mercenary companies. Everyone wanted the human who'd beat the unbeatable. Maya turned them all down. I'm not even graduated yet, she told me when I asked about it. Seems premature. 3 months after her match with Draxer, Academy administration called me to a meeting. When I arrived, I found Maya already there, looking confused. Commandant Thex, a weathered Quintari with more combat experience than most planets had history, regarded us both seriously. Instructor Krell, Cadet Tours, thank you for coming. I'll be direct, Maya. The council has been reviewing your performance. Your academic scores are exceptional. Your combat evaluations are unprecedented. Your peer reviews indicate strong leadership qualities and tactical innovation. Thank you, sir, Maya said clearly, unsure where this was going. We're advancing your graduation by 2 full cycles, effective immediately. You're no longer a cadet, you're an instructor. Maya's jaw dropped. So did mine, sir. With respect, I'm not qualified to be an instructor, Maya protested. I still have so much to learn. You've taught half the academy more in 3 months than some instructors manage in years, replied. And we need that. The galaxy is changing. Tours, new threats, new alliances, new paradigms. We need officers who can adapt, who can think beyond traditional frameworks. You've proven you can do that. He slid a data tablet across the desk. Your assignment, should you accept it, is to develop a new curriculum, cross-species, tactical integration, teaching different species to work together using their unique capabilities in coordination rather than isolation. You will have full authority to design the program as you see fit. Maya stared at the tablet like it might explode. Can I think about it? You have until morning. Dismissed. We left the office together. Maya was uncharacteristically quiet. This is insane, she finally said. I'm 22. I can't be an instructor. I barely know what I'm doing. You defeated Draxer, I reminded her. You've revolutionized combat training methodologies. You've earned the respect of warriors twice your age and 3 times your size. That doesn't make me qualified to teach. No, I agreed, but your humility might. The best instructors are the ones who remember what it's like to be a student. She looked at me with those strained human eyes, so expressive despite lacking the sensory range of more advanced species. Did you feel ready when they made you an instructor? She asked. Absolutely not. I was terrified for the first 2 years, but you did it anyway. The galaxy needed it. So yes, Maya nodded slowly. Okay. I'll do it, but I'm going to need help. A lot of help. You'll have it. The next morning, Maya Tours, the youngest instructor in Academy history, accepted her commission. 6 months later, her cross-species tactical integration program had a waiting list of over 3,000 students. 1 year later, her techniques were being taught at militaries across the galaxy. 2 years later, when the Chromalian incursion threatened the outer colonies, it was a mixed species Unit trained in Maya's methods that held the line long enough for reinforcements to arrive, and 5 years later when I finally retired, I attended a ceremony where Maya received the Star of Valor, the highest military honor the Galactic Council could bestow. She gave a speech about teamwork, perseverance, and the importance of learning from everyone you meet. It was funny, heartfelt, and quintessentially human. Afterward, I found her at the reception surrounded by admirers. Instructor tours, I said formally. Oh, shut up, Krell, she laughed, pulling me into what humans called a hug. It was awkward. I had 4 arms and wasn't sure what to do with them. You did well, I told her. We did well. Couldn't have done it without you. I still remember thinking you'd die in that first match. So did I. Absolutely terrified the entire time. She grinned. But you know what Coach Patterson used to say. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being scared and doing it anyway. I looked around the reception hall. Dozens of species, dozens of warriors, all brought together by the vision of one small human who refused to accept the galaxy's limitations. Your species is going to change everything. I said, yeah, probably, but hopefully in a good way. She raised her glass to the future. I touched my glass to hers, to the future. And somewhere in the training halls of the academy, new cadets were learning that size didn't determine strength, that speed didn't guarantee victory, and that the most dangerous opponent was the one who refused to play by your rules. The age of Earth had indeed begun, and for once, I was glad to see what came